Well, he's been described as a tireless public servant and a beacon of hope. But after nearly 2 decades, Reverend Andy Bales is stepping down as president and CEO of the Union Rescue Mission. Joining us today is Reverend Andy Bales in his own turf here at the Union Rescue Mission. Thank you so much for letting us come in here. And we want to talk about what's next for you. So what is next?
What's next is I leave here about December 31st in an education and feeding program for elementary kids called CFUMS, Children, Families, Urban Movement in Des Moines, Iowa.
Do you have any regrets?
I have regrets that things are worse on Skid Row than when I came. I thought I could, with the help of our community and with God's help, we could end Skid Row as we know it and make sure there wasn't one precious soul lost on our streets. And instead, not only did Skid Row get much worse, but homelessness spread to every neighborhood in Los Angeles, mostly due to bad policy by our federal government, our state government, our county government, our city government. But a lot of it was due to what I think is our society kind of losing its moorings. People are losing touch with traditions that kept them healthy and whole. They're losing touch with family, and I found in a study that the biggest common denominator among people devastated by homelessness, not the cause, but the biggest common denominator is losing touch with family. So family disintegrates when they're young, or they burn every bridge with their family, and that's the biggest common denominator, and that's happening more and more, unfortunately.
You keep sounding these alarms, but is anyone listening?
Yes, our mayor I have great hope in our mayor, Karen Bass. She is sounding the alarm louder than I could ever, and she's saying we can't deal with this crisis without dealing with mental health problems and without dealing with the addiction recovery. And she told me, she said, how long are you around? I said, December 31st. So she said, you're around for a while. Let's work together to solve this. And so I have great confidence that we're going to not only bring recovery, but even faith-based recovery to this problem.
Excellent. It's too bad you won't be here to continue working with the mayor.
Yeah, but our Union Rescue Mission will.
I hear a lot of children behind me.
We have so many children.
Has the number of children here grown exponentially?
We have never seen these kind of numbers. We have 900 and some family members. We have over 500 kids at all of our sites. Hope Gardens Family Center in Sylmar, Union Rescue Mission downtown, I think there's 400 family members.
You mentioned policies. What are some of those policies that you think have led to this crisis?
Well, 10 years ago, I cried out, please don't go to the harm reduction, housing first policy. The proposal was to build very expensive, slow to develop units for a few while we leave the many out on the streets. But everybody, this is the new flavor of the month. Everybody shifted away from emergency shelter and interim shelter and transitional housing and recovery. And they said, you archaic missions, you used to, and recovery people used to manage this problem. We're going to solve it. And so they proposed over 10 years ago, building units.
Who is they?
Just proponents of the housing first harm reduction model. And it started in the George Bush years with Philip Mangano and others, and then President Barack Obama adopted it wholesale, and our community here fought for it, and the permanent supportive housing people used to tell me, we're going to put you out of business. That's what they used to tell us.
Wow.
And so they moved ahead, right? Funders shifted their funding, foundations shifted their giving, churches even called me before them, and whole denominations, and millions of dollars shifted, and yet we continued to continue to do what we do, 24/7, welcoming shelter, transitional housing, recovery, and now, unfortunately, I'm having to say, I told you so. The numbers don't lie. We have more people devastated by homelessness than we've ever had. Street homelessness has skyrocketed as we went to the housing a few and leaving the many on the streets. Chronic homelessness, the people we were directing that help to, actually didn't go down, it rose, and numbers don't lie. And the most accurate, unfortunate barometer is that 6 people per day are now dying of complications of homelessness in LA, and that's up from 2 or 3. When it was 2 or 3 per day, that was alarming. But now it's at an all-time high. People on the street are at an all-time high. It's time to say, this has failed, let's try something else.
So you say housing first should not be the first issue, so what should it be?
It should be a multiple strategies, a both and. So Karen Bass, she's saying we need a both and approach. We need a vast network of interim housing immediately to get people off the streets while we build housing. I would add to that, while we build innovative, immediate, affordable housing that can go up not in a matter of 4 years like the Housing First currently is doing, but in a matter of days and weeks and months. I've proposed before mobile homes, brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath mobile homes to our governor when he was spending billions. He could have built—
Which governor?
Governor Gavin Newsom.
Okay.
For the same billions, he could have built 180,000 brand new mobile homes, which would have housed every homeless person in the United States, let alone California. But that's not what we did. We doubled down on the very expensive, slow to develop housing. But now there's 3D printed concrete homes for $82,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. There's container homes for $100,000 that you can build. There's prefab homes that you can do affordably. There are creative housing options that we could do. We need that kind of innovation. We can't leave people on the streets to suffer and die when 6 people are dying per day and waiting 4 years for a unit. We need explosive growth of immediate, affordable, innovative housing.
We have seen a growing amount of transitional housing, the tiny home villages,
Yes,
which has gone up.
absolutely.
They've gone up around the city. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, they're not big enough, right? 64 square feet, sometimes shared by 2 people, isn't big enough to be sustainable. We need more like 300 square foot with a bathroom and a kitchen. Someone could live in that for a lengthy time and have good mental health. But 64 square feet, although it's better than the streets, it's not the best option in my opinion. That's why we haven't gotten into the tiny house as it is movement. So why not do a different option? I've been going to Washington, D.C. and speaking up for something called Housing Plus.
Housing Plus.
30% of federal money that's currently going to Housing First harm reduction would be moved to go to recovery units. I've always longed for Union Rescue Mission to create places for people to move that are affordable and sober and safe and peaceful. I guess that's my other regret, that I was not able to convince our board of directors to move not just the emergency, transitional, recovery, and permanent supportive housing, the sober version, but that I wasn't able to create affordable housing in recovery options. And perhaps with Housing Plus, if it passes, Union Rescue Mission could step up and do some of that affordable, sober recovery housing. People want to see people bounce back, and we believe that people can bounce back, and we see it every day.
Are you going to miss this?
I'm going to miss being a part of this and being able to do my part to make it happen. I'll just have to do what I can from a distance to help keep it going.
All right. Well, Reverend Andy Bales, thank you so much for having us here at the Union Rescue Mission.
Thank you, Anita.